right, so Three Arrows Capital, Suzu, find themselves in a vat of hot water at the moment. They are in big liquidation trouble, and I touched on this a little bit in the last video that I put out. For those of you guys who haven't seen it, it kind of links 3AC to the whole Luna situation, and gives sort of the intro to this video. Now, this video is going to break down what's going on with 3AC in deeper detail. Now, I do want to say before we get into it, the information on the situation is pretty hard to get. You just kind of have to do your own digging, and so what I'm going to be talking about in this video is going to be a lot of my own digging. I also have a thread from Moon or Moon Overlord on crypto Twitter. He's a pretty well-known account. A lot of people follow Moon, but he put together what I feel is a pretty good thread explaining and summarizing the whole situation. So that's what I'm going to use in reference here. Please note, again, a lot of this is own digging. A little bit of guesswork, so it might not be 100% accurate, but we do think that this is kind of a good encompassing view of the situation. So before we get into the situation, I want to set the scene for how this kind of all came about, so that maybe it'll help you guys better understand how this came about. So as we know, venture capitalist firms' job is to make money for investors. Investors give the firm money, the firm invests the money, firm then gives the money back to investors plus some, right? That's the goal. That is the whole entire goal of venture capitalist firms. And as we know, we just went through one of the biggest bull cycles we have ever had, and Three Arrows Capital found themselves sitting on a massive amount of cash. And what do you need to do as a VC? You need to put that cash to use. Now, as we know in the crypto space, there are lots of token locks that were happening for seed investors, right? So how many times did you read the tokenomics page, and it said, seed investors lock period 4 years, 6 months, 1 year. There was all sorts of time frame breakdowns. These seed investors are the venture capitalist firms. So 3AC was a seed investor for lots of different projects. So they have lots of funds that they allocated towards these seed investments that got locked up. Now, they did have some leftover cash. What was available at the time for them to earn interest on this cash that they felt was a safe bet? Well, they turned to things like lots of staked ETH. Okay, so there's a project called Lido, which Lido is a project where you can stake your ETH through into, for the ETH 2.0 chain, but it gives you a token called STETH, which is just staked ETH. What that allows you to do, and the idea behind Lido, is that you can trade this token to get out of your staked ETH position. Because as we know, staked ETH, if you stake it directly to the ETH contract, you can't get it back until the ETH 2.0 chain is launched. Only at that time will you be able to access that money. So a lot of teams turn to Lido as a way to stake their ETH, get the returns, but also get a token that is sort of equivalent and should be equivalent to the value of one ETH token. So anyways, I hope that wasn't too confusing for you guys. But again, a lot of money was allocated from 3AC into Lido, was staked. They got a lot of these STETH tokens. They invested a lot in Luna. They locked a lot of money in Luna. And so, they had, I think it was something like $500 million that was in locked Luna alone. I believe they also held some UST. They were involved in the Anchor protocol, so I think there was some money there as well. They also took a lot of ETH and put it into Celsius, where Celsius, again, a lot like BlockFi, you can take your ETH, put it in there, stake it, earn interest. So similar setup to Lido, I think this was just them diversifying their staked ETH. And Celsius is supposed to be a place where you can redeem, it's more liquid staking, right? So you don't get necessarily a side token, you just earn interest, I believe, on the ETH that you provide to them, and you can withdraw it at any time. Again, I believe that is how it works with Celsius. Okay. So now we know you're a VC firm, you had lots of cash, you allocated it all these different places so that you can earn some interest. Then what happens? Well, all of a sudden, Luna goes down, right? Death spiral. We see a $500 million position of locked Luna that 3AC held get basically evaporated. I think it went down, it's worth like 600 and something bucks now. So 500 million gone. Then Celsius freezes withdraws. So you have God knows how much money in ETH locked in Celsius. I think they had other assets too. It might not have just been ETH, but it was a lot of money. The dollar equivalent of all the crypto they had in Celsius was a ton. So that, they freeze withdrawals on that. So you can't access that money anymore. Now you're sitting here with these positions in everything else, right? Because they were still trading on the market. It's not like they stopped trading other tokens on the market. And they had a lot of leveraged long positions on Bitcoin and Ethereum, okay? So a lot of this, basically what they were doing is they were leverage buying at what they thought were good positions, taking that ETH, so leverage buying is basically you're taking out a loan and matching almost like the exchange's money with your money to buy a token. Now, when you do that, you open up the door to liquidation, which is basically a point where your loan to value gets too high, and so the exchange wipes out your position. So they took a lot of these leveraged long positions at what they thought were good entries, and they used that extra ETH, which again is basically on a loan to them. So that ETH and Bitcoin and AVAX and all these other tokens were basically on a loan to them. They then moved that into staking protocols to earn interest on ETH that wasn't theirs. Okay, so it's kind of genius when things are working, right? So when the market is up, this is genius because you're earning interest on money you never had in the first place, and you get to keep the profits once you pay back the loan that the exchange gave you, that leveraged trade, you pocket all the profits. So it's definitely a win when the markets are doing good, but when things go south, if you don't have the money to pay back those positions, so when the values come down, you now need to front more money to pay back your position and get out of your leveraged long position, which is the situation that Three Arrows Capital found themselves in. And they were getting closer and closer to their liquidation price. So I think it was at like $1,000 when ETH hit $1,000. That was their liquidation price. It was somewhere right around there. What that means is if ETH went all the way down to $1,000, their position would be wiped out. The exchange would sell their position, and they would lose all of that money. That's a big deal, right? That's like evaporated money, gone. And when they have all this money that was locked up in projects like, normally this isn't an issue, right? Normally they could just go, okay, we'll deleverage a little bit, we'll pay back some of the leverage that we used, pay back some of that loan, get our liquidation price down, right? So if you pay back some of it, it could drop the price all the way down to maybe like $500 per ETH. So unless ETH hits $500, they're not going to get liquidated. The issue is all their money was tied up in these protocols. You got Luna that went under, so that money was gone. And then you have Celsius that halted their withdrawals, so they couldn't take money out of Celsius to pay back these long positions. So they're sitting there, they have a lot of money technically, but they can't access it all. So they're at risk of getting liquidated on multiple massive longs. They had some some money in Aave that I believe is also in a leveraged position of sorts. So they had all this stuff going on that was leveraged off of each other. It's like this just chain of leveraged loans and crypto DeFi and like all this stuff going on that was all linked to different positions, massively intertwined. VC structures are very complex. But then they didn't have the money to satisfy their loans. And so what they were sitting there doing is they had to go sell a bunch of their ST ETH. Okay, so the ST ETH that they did have, they went and basically dumped a ton of it. And then they had to go and try to salvage and get other investors to help them pay back these positions so they don't get liquidated. And that's basically what they've been doing the past few days based from what we can tell. So anyways, that's sort of the high overview of what was going on. Again, I don't mean to make it too complicated, but now let's get into the Moon Overlord thread. Moon says, 3AC in trouble, rumors swirling, Kyle and Zoo. Kyle is also a part of 3AC. I believe he's the co-founder with Sue, just as an FYI. Haven't tweeted or liked anything in days. Zoo took every coin and hashtag out of his bio. Zoo deleted his Instagram. An hour ago, they dumped 30,000 ST ETH and reduced all Aave positions. People think that Celsius is the biggest ST ETH dumper, but it's 3AC and it isn't even relatively close. They're dumping on every account and seed round address they have. most looks like it's going to pay back debts and outstanding borrows they have. So here is the chart that he put up that just shows the transactions of 3AC, the values basically that they're dumping lots of staked ETH. Okay, also 3AC is number 2 on the leaderboard for realized losses last month on Bitfinex, with a negative $31 million realized loss. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the big traders on Bitfinex, there's a leaderboard for it. You can put your Twitter and stuff on there and track your P&L. And so this is what that looks like. 3AC is number 2 with a realized loss. That means they closed these positions. Keep that in mind. They probably have a lot of other positions open right now that are way in the negative that they just haven't closed yet, so it's not realized. But they have a realized loss of about $31 million. Not a ton in the grand scheme of things for them. I believe 3AC had an AUM, or assets under management, of somewhere around $50 billion. I believe that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it looks to be confirmed now. So Sue tweeted, he said, "We are in the process of communicating with relevant parties and fully committed to working this out." So obviously something's wrong. It sounds like we're on the right track of determining what that is. And then it says 3AC has started to consolidate their NFT holdings. They have a massive art blocks curated collection, as well as an impressive super rare and foundation collection. Wonder if we'll see the biggest NFT auctions of all time. NFTs are being moved here. Okay, so they're basically liquidating everything that they have to save these other massive ETH positions that they took out. I said Bitcoin before. I don't know if they actually hold Bitcoin. I'm sure they do hold Bitcoin, but I don't know if they have leverage positions on Bitcoin. But they obviously hold lots and lots and lots of ETH. And so right now they're just trying to save those leveraged positions. So they're working it out right now, obviously. So I really hope that they do work it out, because I said this in the last video, but 3AC I do not believe is the bad guy. They have done a lot of good for the space, and obviously they were doing everything that they were saying on Twitter. So Sue tweeted a lot during the downturn. As a lot of people know, we were all looking at his tweets and thinking they were some cryptic message, about him going long, and if you're not long in here, you're crazy. And a lot of people thought it was psyops, which is just Twitter speak for like mind games. A lot of people thought he was playing mind games, telling people he was buying so that they would buy so he could dump on them. Well, clearly he was not lying. He was buying. So, I guess props to him for not using Twitter as a weapon. And so, again, I really hope they turn this thing around. But there you guys have it. There's the recap of the 3AC situation and what we know so far. If you like the video, please like and subscribe so you can follow along with the story and other stories that we're covering on the channel. So I will see you guys next time.